Would you buy a car that was powered by red-hot magma from active volcanoes? This sleek supercar has a staggering 1,700 horsepower, but it also has another claim to fame. It runs completely on renewable energy sources. When we think of eco-friendly cars, we think of Tesla. But just like all the other manufacturers, even Elon Musk has had his fair share of issues. Now, there might be a solution to those problems. And we could help save the planet at the same time while still rocketing along at 250 miles per hour. They're calling it the world's first Mega GT and an extreme megacar. And if you ask us, they're not too far off. This is the Koenigsegg Chimera, a vehicle that could very well be the beacon of the future of the industry. But before we accelerate into how this sleek ride can save the world and stop the icebergs from melting, let's talk about it as if it were just any other hypercar. We've only been introduced to this beast recently, having been unveiled on March 3rd of 2020 during an online broadcast by Koenigsegg. It's classified as a 4-seat hybrid Grand Tourer, meaning that for a supercar, it's actually got a ton of space. Most lightning-quick rubber-burning hypercars are 2-seaters in order to reduce weight and focus more on performance. However, the Chimera, even with its roomy interior, can reach 250 miles per hour. That's over 400 kilometers per hour, placing it way up there in the top tier of the industry. With just a handful that would edge it out in a drag race. It can zip from 0 to 62 miles an hour or 100 kilometers in a mere 1.9 seconds, and has all the fancy gadgets and stunning door mechanisms to go with it. However, remember that this car is a hybrid, part electric, part traditional engine. Well, somewhat traditional. If the driver wants to, they can choose to isolate the lightweight 800V battery, which enables the Chimera to go full-on electric for up to 31 miles or 50 kilometers. Keep in mind that when going full electric, you do miss out on the adrenaline-pumping sound of a real engine. You still want one for yourself? Then get in line, because there will be a limited run of just 300 cars, each roughly for $1.9 million. Ka-ching! We've heard that the Chimera could be revolutionary for the environment, and that's because of something that they're calling the TFG engine. Any guesses what that stands for? Thrust Force Grunt? Nope. Believe it or not, Tiny, Friendly, Giant. But we'll rewind to that a little bit later. So when you hear about eco-friendly or electric car companies, what's the name that comes to mind? Tesla, right? With the help of Elon Musk's enormous brain, Tesla is leading the charge for environmentally friendly vehicles. Think of it this way. The global electric vehicle market size was valued at about $118 million in 2017. By 2025, it's estimated to reach $567 million. What does that mean? That sustainable vehicles aren't going away anytime soon. As an industry leader, Tesla sold 367,500 cars in 2019, which was a new record for the company. But if Koenigsegg and its volcano-powered technology has any say in it, Elon Musk might soon be knocked off his perch. The 2020 Tesla Model S starts at $79,990. Compare that to the base price of $24,325 for a humble Prius, and you can see that there's clearly a markup for the Musk factor. But take a look at them side by side. You can clearly see the difference in aesthetic. Which is more appealing to you? Exactly. But just because it's a Tesla, that doesn't mean it's without problems. In fact, while the world still transitions from fuel-guzzling V12 engines to electric cars, owning an electric is still problematic. America now has over 20,000 electric car charging stations. Sounds like a lot, but compared to the 168,000 gas stations dotted across the country, it's nothing. It's a lot easier to refuel than to recharge. Over 8 times easier if you go by the numbers. Most of these electric stations are in major cities as well. There are only 10 Tesla charging stations in all of Nebraska, 4 of which are in Omaha. Think you'll find one out in the back roads? No chance. North Dakota only has 6. You see our point? If you want to take a road trip across the USA in an electric car, you better not take any detours. It's not just Tesla that faces issues with going full-blown electric. There are heaps of problems with other brands in the market as well. A lot of people would agree that electric vehicle technology still needs work. Why? Because yes, they've been able to tick off the zero emissions box, but they haven't made it a universal driving solution. The reality is that unless you're living in the San Franciscos or Austins of the world, electric batteries can't power long enough journeys, and the time to recharge is substantially more than it is to fill up a tank of fuel. If you want more mileage for your EV, then you generally need a bigger battery, and that means heavier cars, which cost more to produce. How long will it take to get the battery technology to a spot where the distance can make that of a gas-powered car? At least a few years, but that's only half the question. The other key factor is that a large range won't be consumer-friendly in terms of price, at least not anytime soon. And the 2020 Tesla Roadster is a perfect example of that. Elon Musk has promised an astounding 620-mile range on this car, which would smash the rest of the industry. The issue? A whopping $250,000 price tag. Some hypercar brands are following suit and going for pure electric or hybrid models. Meanwhile, others are staying true to the traditional engine model. Shall we compare the two groups? Why not? In the hybrid or fully electric column, we've got three cars as examples: the Ferrari SF90, the Pininfarina Battista, and the Porsche Taycan. In the traditional engine column, we've got the Hennessy Venom F5, the SSC Tuatara, and the Bugatti Chiron. Then, in a column all of its own, the volcano-powered Koenigsegg Gemera. Let's start with the Ferrari, shall we? The SF90 is the company's fastest production car and is an electric hybrid capable of hitting 211 miles per hour, with a 0 to 60 of just 2.5 seconds. The Battista is a 1900 horsepower purely electric car that can reach 60 miles an hour in under 2 seconds, even faster than the Ferrari. But the catch is that it only has a range of around 300 miles on one charge. And the Porsche Taycan? Well, that'll be Porsche's first fully electric car, which might not be as fast as the other two, with a 0 to 60 of 3.5 seconds, but it comes much cheaper at just $90,000. Okay, now for our fuel burning units. The Hennessy Venom F5 will set you back $1.8 million. What does that get you? A top speed of 301 miles per hour? The SSC Tuatara, which is also claimed to break the 300 mile an hour mark, is slightly cheaper at $1,625,000. But the king of them all, the world's fastest car, which, as you'd expect, has a traditional engine, is the Bugatti Chiron. The company's most powerful car has an 8-cylinder engine that has propelled it to a scintillating top speed of exactly 304.773 miles per hour. But Bugatti CEO Wolfgang Durheimer has said that electrification is inevitable for the next version of the Chiron, although that'll still be a few years away. You know what's not a few years away, though? Alternate fuel options. In a world filled with more ultra-high dollar supercars than ever, the Gemera still stands out. Why? Because of its fuel. The issue with electric cars is the range before the battery dies. The issue with traditional cars is the damage on the environment. So, how do we avoid both of these issues simultaneously? By using a different fuel. A sustainable kind of fuel that the environment produces naturally. Yup, volcano fuel. There are actually a number of different fuel options out there, we just rarely ever hear about them. There's methanol, also known as wood alcohol, biodiesel, which is based on vegetable oils or animal fats, steam, hydrogen, or even liquid nitrogen. The Koenigsegg Gemera? That baby runs on volcano energy. It gets a range of 621 miles, that's 1,000 kilometers. That's more than the Tesla Roadster, which was more than every other electric car. So what is this volcano stuff that we've been rambling on about? Well, remember the so-called tiny, friendly, giant engine? Well, that powerful machine is a 3-cylinder combustion engine that Koenigsegg says runs on 100% renewable alcohol fuel like methanol or ethanol, or yes, even volcanol, which is an alcohol extracted from a volcano in Iceland. Volcanol is cleaner and more natural than the common gasoline that we use today. For years, a company called Carbon Recycling International has used an Icelandic volcano to power a nearby geothermal electricity plant. So who's to say that this concept, while relatively new, couldn't prove to be a major new source of fuel for hypercars? If Koenigsegg can do it, then so could others. Even established car companies like Lamborghini, Ferrari, and Porsche, who have shown that they're not afraid to go down the hybrid route, could experiment with this technology. Could they leverage this new engine to help keep them competitive with Tesla? There's only one way to find out. If volcano-fueled sports cars can become the norm, we could eliminate the problems posed by electric cars. We would then put a halt to the excess energy and pollution needed to create electric batteries in the first place. You see, electric battery production uses a lot of energy, from the extraction of raw materials from the earth to the electricity consumed in the manufacturing process. Extracting volcanol, on the other hand, could be much more environmentally friendly than producing batteries. Okay, now let's forget about electric engines for a moment. Why is Koenigsegg's revolutionary engine and fuel better than a traditional unit? There's the environmental benefit for one, by reducing CO2 emissions usually created in the process of mining oil for fuel. But that's not all. It'll also benefit the consumer. Yep, all of us. Sure, the Koenigsegg Gemera is expensive right now, but remember, this is new technology. Underneath it all, the fact is that the TFG engine is about half as costly to build as Koenigsegg's 5-liter twin-turbo V8. Half the price. So, if it's cheaper to build a Volcano-powered TFG engine, once the technology is mastered, that should mean that it's cheaper to buy. At the moment, the industry is testing the idea of using Volcanol with hypercars. But if this cleaner, more natural technology can go mainstream and be mass-produced, being used more with typical city cars as well, not only will our vehicles become cheaper to buy, but we could help slow the beast that is climate change. Theoretically, this, combined with the continued growth of electric car technology, could reduce the automobile industry's carbon footprint emissions. Would that stop global warming? It would be a step in the right direction, that's for sure. So, is this a fad, or could it actually change the car world in the not-too-distant future?